Welcome everybody to this 6:30 p.m. / 6:41 p.m. Journaling event. Hiya. Today with Chloe from Vibe and Flow. I'm really excited to introduce you guys to her. She does such cool work with journaling in general. She does these sort of workshops for huge conglomerates, big companies, all the way down to like small one-on-one sessions or intimate gatherings. And she's got an incredible workshop that she's created for the She Brief tonight that she's going to be sharing with us. And it's all about harnessing journaling and the power of journaling as a tool that you can use in order to get what you want and to get success. And I personally love journaling. I keep a journal by my bed all the time, and I just find it's not something I do a lot. Like, I'm not a daily journaler, but I reach for it, a couple times a week, just when I feel like I need to empty my head and just get a bit of focus and clarity. So my journal is for everything really, but personal and business. I just find it's a really nice way to just kind of like brain dump everything. And I always leave my journaling sessions feeling super relaxed, more focused. And often when you journal, you can get a lot of clarity on things that are like bugging you, or things that you've maybe not really understood what the emotions you're having around something in your life really mean. And I mean, everything about journaling is personal. So whether you're a seasoned journaler or this is totally new to you and you're joining the event today because you just want to get like a sort of how-to guide from Chloe, then I think this is going to be just a really great session. And we're going to dive in. I'm going to hand over to Chloe now, and she's going to take you through this hour-long session. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to you, Chloe, and take it away.
Oh yeah, hey everyone, thank you so much for joining us today. I'm so excited. Journaling is something that I'm just so passionate about, and I think that this is going to help a lot of people. I want to work fairly fast paced today, so if you have your workbook that has been sent out to you before, already, then have that to hand. If you just got a journal, that's fine as well. I'm going to be talking through the prompts as we go, and we will work quite fast paced. And the reason for this is that we want to not overthink, and there is a tendency when it comes to journaling that we overthink and we start to dwell. So it is very fast paced. No, that is the intention. So who am I? I am a journaling, mindset, manifestation teacher. I have a business, Vibe and Flow, and I also have one-to-one clients, and we use journaling across the board in all of those elements because I genuinely believe the power of it. So I'm just going to keep letting people in as we go. So if we go on to the first slide, or is that not going to work? There we go. Awesome. So what is journaling? I don't know if anyone's just come in, but if you want to just pop yourself on mute, otherwise you might hear a little bit of playback. So what is journaling? Journaling is basically where you grab a pen and a piece of paper and you write. So it is literally like a notebook. It's not too complex, it's not like really heavy. I think when we say the word journaling, we sometimes think, a bit like meditation. It has like this kind of like, oh, am I doing it wrong kind of vibe, but it literally is pen and paper, and it is more pen and paper than sort of like digital. You could do it like on an iPad, for example, but instead of typing, because there's something about writing it down that really helps you unlock parts of your mind. So very powerful. It is a process to explore thoughts and feelings. This, honestly, guys, if you take one thing away, if you document your feelings throughout your business process, throughout your relationships, your life, just understanding and bringing a level of awareness to your thoughts is going to be super helpful. It's going to help you get that perspective. And as we'll go through this, you'll see, I'll keep mentioning, with awareness comes choice. Like, you don't know what you don't know. So when you bring that level of awareness, like, oh, I'm feeling this, let's dig deeper, it can really help you process. And then, of course, benefits, stress relief, clarity. Clarity is going to be a primary focus of today's session, but along with that comes confidence, happiness, that just inner peace that you can kind of get at any time. And it's always that idea that journaling is always going to be there for you. It's 3 a.m., your mind's overpowered, especially with business. I'm sure at least some of you guys have had this where you wake up and you're like, oh my goodness, this is bothering me, or oh my goodness, I have this incredible idea. So it just allows you to have a space to either process that or just to get it out of your head, because all your thoughts, all the things in your head are taking up real estate in your head. So just getting them out can be really helpful in that side. So in terms of top tips, I'm just trying to move my chat out of the way. In terms of top tips, getting everything down on paper will allow you, like I said, to get that perspective. But not only that, you can come back to it. You can see if things are like, if there's patterns, if things keep arising, if things keep coming up and there are pain points for you. So a little quick thing on limiting beliefs and how that plays into this and business is a limiting belief will keep playing up. It will keep showing itself in your life, and you can go days, years, sometimes a lifetime without actually realizing them. So journaling allows you to get this kind of perspective, also a little bit of coming back and seeing those patterns. And then, of course, when you actually get this perspective, you can slow things down, you can get that awareness, you can actually kind of step and see yourself as separate from your fears and your worries and all of those kind of things. Because when we're going through anything, especially in business, we identify it with it, right? You know, we're very connected with whatever's going on. If things are going great, we're really connected. If things are not going too great, we're really connected. And it's just having that separation. So like I said, before we start, if you just take a moment to ground yourself, this is a safe space. Like we said, there's going to be a Q&A at the end as well. So like, know that this is a safe space. There is no judgment. Taking a deep breath in. And if you want to put your hand on your heart, so your left hand on your heart and your right hand on your stomach, and just take a deep breath in, and this will just connect you to this practice. So hand on heart, hand on stomach, and we're going to take a deep breath in together. So breathing in and exhaling slowly. And I like to do that just before I start a journaling practice pretty much every time, mainly because it just brings me back to the present moment when things are going on crazy in the world or in our heads, just having that moment to breathe. So perfect. So if you grab your journal or your workbook, we're going to start off by actually explaining the framework, and then we're going to dig in deeper. So first of all, awareness. Without this whole process, we're going to add a layer of awareness to you and your business. From that, you will get choice. So what I say is with awareness comes choice. You have the choice to change what's going on. If you have the awareness that, oh, actually, this is going on in my business and I don't like it, you have the choice then to change it. So it's all about that perspective. And then from there, when you start to make small changes, you have that element of reflection. So you can then go, okay, this is working, this isn't working. And it gives you that kind of ability to gain momentum. So that's the framework. And now we're going to dig in deep to the awareness. So if you want to grab up your workbook, you'll scroll down, you'll see exercise 1. So basically on this slide, what we're going to be doing is describing the least desirable things that you want in your business. So if you haven't got the workbook, the prompt is describe the least desirable business model / setup that you would hate to have. Think about the hours, think about the cash flow, think about the work demand, think about the team, the theme. So what I'm going to do now, if you all grab your workbook, like I said, we're going to do this pretty quickly. So you're going to have a few minutes to do this. I'm going to talk as we journal, just to kind of speak you through it. But if you want to grab your pen and just start writing down what would make a really bad business, right? What would be awful for you? So think about, like I said, think about hours. What if you're working all the hours? Would that make it bad for you? Or would that make it good? So keep writing down as I'm speaking. The things that I'm saying might spark something within you. So think about the cash flow. Would a business model actually find that, you know, say, for example, you have a business model that was seasonal. How would that play a part in your life? Would that be bad? Would that be good? Have a little think. Cash flow. Cash flow is a big thing in business. You could have the best business ever. You could have the best business idea ever. My partner's an accountant, so cash flow is obviously something that comes up. We talk about that. And you need to have that cash flow. What if you have a business that has really bad cash flow? Would that make it bad? So just really getting those ideas. Don't overthink this. Just think, what would make a business bad for me? Think about your team. Do you want to be someone who is working on your own? In which case, would having loads of team members to have to help and work with be horrible? Or would it be good? So you just want to get down with things that would make that not undesirable. What's going to happen here is you're going to start knowing what you don't like, right? And then what's happening here as you go through, and keep just writing as I'm talking, just think about what work demand would make like a business less desirable, what sort of requirements. Because what's happening here is the quality of the questions is determining the quality of the results. So if we're asking this kind of question, what would make a business bad for you? You're starting to get that clarity on what you do want, which is obviously what we're going to move on to, but just getting those initial ideas down. What we're doing here is we're directing the mind. We're getting really clear and we're saying, okay, the law of polarity is a universal manifestation law. And the idea is that it shows you things you don't want so you can get clear on what you do want. And that is exactly what we're doing here. And getting that consistency through this, maybe as you're writing down, you're noticing actually the biggest thing that keeps coming up for you is like the idea of freedom. Would it be really bad if your freedom was taken away by the cash flow or by the hours or by the team? So for example, if you had a lot of team members and you had to make sure you were there for them, would that take away freedom? Would your having a certain amount of work, which is like too much for you, would that take away your freedom? Or would it be what you want? It's getting a level of awareness. So keep going with this now. I want you to then go to the second part of your workbook and look at how you can reverse these things. So if you haven't got the workbook, the prompt I want you to think of is now reverse those things to get clear on what you do want. Right below your dream business, hours, team, clients, cash flow, themes. As you can probably see, what we're doing here is we're flipping the switch. We're saying on this first part of this process, we wrote it all down. We realized that, it's actually not for you. It's not what you want. So really all you're doing on a really simple sort of way is you are looking directly at what you've written about what you do not want, and you're literally just flipping the switch. What kind of hours do you want to work? What do you want your team to look like? Even thinking down to whether you want a freelance team or a team that's in the payroll. They're two different things, right? So this is getting clarity. It's going to help you understand what kind of business you want to create. And I'm a really firm believer in that you create a business because you want to start creating impact on your life and others. So what is that impact? Really getting clear on that cash flow. Like what sort of model of business would allow you to have that cash flow that you desire? Going back to that idea of being seasonal. Would you want to work with the seasons? Did you realize in part one that actually you'd hate the idea of a business being seasonal? Or did you realize in part one that you love the idea of a business being seasonal? Write those things down now. And I'm aware that we're working quite quickly here, but that's the idea. We don't want to overthink this. We want to keep moving. To really connect to that feeling now. And then we're going to move on to part 3 of this exercise 1, which is the next prompt. So if you haven't got the workbook, what you want to write down is who are you calling in? Who do you want to be working with, serving, helping within your business? Really think about the person. If you understand, think about, do you want to be helping someone at a certain level? So for example, I help people when they tend to be going through some sort of transition period. I work with people who are just starting out, and sometimes I work with people who are already achieving their goals, but they want to take it to the next level. So what's happening here is they're going through a transition. So if I were to fill this in, I would say I want to help people who are going through a transition in their life. So what kind of person do you want to be helping? And the other flip side to that is, who are you calling in? It's a mutual exchange, right? When you're helping someone within business, it's a mutual exchange. So what kind of person do you want to be working with? For me, I'm going to draw on some examples just to get your ideas flowing. But for me, I want to attract people that are ready to do the work, right? I want to attract people who are excited to start this new process in their life. Mindset work is a choice, right? It is a choice, and I need someone to be ready for that. So that's something I would write down. I'd write someone who respects my boundaries, respects me, who has a similar outlook and values. So what kind of person do you want to be calling in? And this will tie in really well with the kind of things you don't want on the first bit that we did. You know, if you're having someone who perhaps is quite maybe disrespectful, that would make a really unfun business. And maybe this is where you get the clarity here, the kind of person that you're calling in. So again, we're moving really quickly here. And remember, this whole practice you can keep coming back to. You can come back to in a few weeks' time, you can come back to in an hour's time. But the biggest thing with journaling is that we're going with speed, because speed allows us to stop overthinking what we're going to write. There's a tendency, especially with journaling when you're first starting out, is you write it as if someone's going to read it. No one's going to read it. This is just for you. This is just for your space. So moving on to the point 4 of exercise 1, which is the way you're currently working aligning with and attracting those kind of customers? So the kind of marketing that you're putting out, right? The kind of way you're speaking, the way you're showing up online, the kind of work that you're doing, does that facilitate the kind of people you want to attract into your business? For example, if one of the things you wrote down in the previous parts of this, that you wanted to have someone who respects your boundaries, and you maybe you work within a certain work period, but you're having people who want to work at the weekend or want to work really late at night, does that overstep your boundary? And by you saying yes, you're putting energetically out there into the world that yes, that's something that you're for. So think about it now. Is the way you are currently working aligning with and attracting those customers or those clients or those members or whoever it is that's your target market? Really tune into that and be honest with yourself here. As you're writing now, you should all be on like point 4. Keep that momentum going. I don't want you to overthink this, but really be honest with yourself. Is what you're doing now attracting those kind of people that you want to attract into your business? Really feel it, and you'll know in your heart. You'll go, oh yeah, I'm doing this stuff, or maybe I'm not. Really think about how it feels at the moment within your business. Do you feel scarcity, lack? Do you feel excited, motivated? Because the way you feel right now is going to indicate the kind of people that you're attracting in. And when you approach anything in life, especially business, you want to have this certainty in yourself. So maybe you're journaling right now and you're realizing that you don't have the certainty. So you're going to attract uncertain people if you're feeling uncertain yourself. So maybe that's something you become aware of as you're writing. And again, you can write in bullet points, you can write in sentences. There's no right or wrong. No one's going to read this. It's for you. Be open, honest, and raw. And then again, we're moving on quickly. Again, the whole point of this is that you allow your subconscious mind to start to be directed. And what's going to happen is, I guarantee you're going to be thinking about some of these prompts even way after this session, because your mind is going to be thinking about these things. You've already started to direct your mind. So number 5, if you have not got the workbook, the prompt is, what do you love doing in your business? What sparks joy? Think along the lines of the tasks and the activities. So for example, again, I want to while you're writing, I want to start getting you to think about this. For me, I really like this kind of thing. I like hosting. I like talking to people. I don't really love the admin. So as much as the admin for me is something that I outsource, but there is some things that I need to do that only I can do. But for that, when it is the case, I do things in a way I enjoy. So what really sparks joy? Do you like working from anywhere? What kind of tasks do you like doing? Do you like talking to people? Do you like working quietly on your own? Do you like working on brand deals? Like, what is it that you really love doing in your business? I'm gonna have a sip of water while you journal on that. Think about how you would set up your day as well. Like as we're going through this, start allowing these prompts to start thinking about other things. Like what when you spark things that spark joy, maybe you can implement more of this into your life. And that's what we're going to be doing and working through as we go through this process. But really let it allow to sink into your sort of mind, really what makes you happy within your business. I guarantee everyone that's here right now started from a place of passion. Sometimes you naturally fall into it, but that is genuinely normally because you've come from a place of passion and you started your business from a place of passion. So why, what feels good? What do you love doing in your business? Again, just get any kind of task down, any kind of situational setup. I like working outside. I like working with clients one-to-one. I like creating. So what we're doing here is really connecting to the feel-good feelings. You'll know this because you'll be writing in or you'll be creating in flow state. You may be really enjoying what you're doing, and that's how you know that it sparks joy. You know, when time just passes. So we're going to keep moving on now. Keep that speed going. Try and keeping your pen on the paper. And the prompt number 6 is, how do you love to feel in your business? Okay, very similar to the past one, but this is more about how you feel, not the task that you're doing. So think along the lines of fulfilled, excited, worthy, recognized, respected. How do you want to feel? Because how you want to feel through your business is key, because if you are feeling good, you're going to be creating from a place of feeling good, and people want to be part of that energy. Have you ever met someone where they haven't done anything wrong per se, but you just don't really like being around them? And compare that to when you meet someone, and again, they haven't actually said anything right or wrong, but you just love being around them. And that is their energetic presence. It's the kind of energy they're putting out into the world, is how other people feel around them. You'll probably notice if someone feels shy or nervous or worried or any of those lacking feelings, you probably feel a little bit off. Even if it's someone you love, maybe, you know, you feel a bit off around their energy when they're feeling those ways. People pick up on energy. So if you are creating from this state of fulfillment or excitement or joy, whatever you're writing right down right now, people would pick up on that. And maybe think about, like, going back to the point 1, maybe you in previous jobs felt unrecognized. So maybe that's how you want to feel. The opposite is how you want to feel in your business, recognized. Really tune into that. You are creating your reality right now. Anything you write down on paper right now, you're starting to create from that place. You're starting to create that next reality. So get really intentional about what it is that you're writing. Maybe as you're writing right now, you kind of feel elements of that feeling. Maybe you feel like, oh, I want to feel excited and motivated and energetic. And as you're writing that, you might think, oh, I feel a little bit of that now. Really connect to that now. There is no right or wrong as well. It's important to know. There is no right or wrong. No one's going to read this. This is just for you. Be honest with yourself. If you felt like in previous, like, you know, anything, any part of life that you weren't feeling that you are like maybe worthy, maybe that's something. So you realize right now you want to be worthy. So again, if anyone hasn't got the workbook, it is number 7. And we're going along the lines of now we're moving on to number 7. And what I want you to write down, if you haven't got the workbook, or if you have got the workbook, go to number 7. And the prompt is, does your current offering, so your products, your services that you provide, the service that you provide to others, does this provide space for the people that you want to attract? And be really truthful here. So it says, are there other areas that you think are weak or could be improved? And maybe there are services that you don't actually yet provide, but you want to. So start thinking about this now. Don't overthink it. And remember, anything you write down, you can come back and look at. So even if you get an initial thought down, you come back and you think, oh no, I don't want to do that. That was just you journaling. It was about getting things out of your head. There's no judgment here, right? So really think about it. And as you're doing this, you may get a bit of clarity. You might get a bit of inspired action. You may think, oh, actually, I want to actually add that offering to my business. I was doing this with someone the other day on the one-to-one, and they said, oh my goodness, didn't even think about that. I get a lot of joy from doing that thing, but it's not an offering within my business. And by me offering that will allow me to attract those kind of clients. You can see how it's all connecting. So think about those clients that you want to attract. Does your current offering actually help them? Does it attract that kind of person? You might want to put yes, you may want to put no, you may want to go kind of, like I said, there's no right or wrong here. But you want you to stay in this sort of meditative state as you're writing, being honest, being truthful with yourself. Have a think, as you're writing this, are there things that you'd like to do in your business? Maybe as you're writing this, you become aware that actually and you've known for a while that there's things you want to add to your business, but you haven't really given that level of awareness to it. And that's what you're doing in this moment. You're bringing that clarity, you're bringing that awareness. And before we move on to the next one, I just want you to kind of draw a scale on your piece of paper or on your workbook. And from 1 to 10, 10 being completely, 1 being not at all, how much does your current offering actually serve the people you want to attract into your business? So don't overthink it, or write a number down, whatever works for you, helps you get that gauge, that scale. So literally out of 10, how or how not do you think your offering is actually attracting those ideal clients? And then moving on to 8.8, still on exercise 1.8. Does your current offering and the products and services that you offer, does this allow you to do the things that you want to do with your time? Does it allow you to feel that way? So the prompt, I read it out for anyone who hasn't got the workbook. Does your current offering, the products and services that you provide, allow you to feel and do the things you want to do most of the time? What is working? What is not working? Okay, so start keeping with that writing flow. Even if you're writing stuff right now that isn't really making sense or isn't really exactly what you want to write, it's the process of getting everything out, and then you can come back to certain bits that you want to add to. I would do this kind of audit and this kind of practice every quarter, or at least every 6 months. Come back to this recording, come back and see, okay, how are we getting on with these elements? So does your current offering actually allow you to do those things that you really want to do? Because maybe it looks like you're switching it up, right? Maybe you need to add different things into your business to allow you to serve the people you want to serve and do the things you want to do. We tend to, when we first start out in business, we do tend to do things what other people are doing because we can see that that's working, whether it's subconsciously or consciously. What can sometimes happen then is we create a business model that isn't for us, that doesn't work for us fully. And as we've already said, when you're in that place or feeling so good, you attract more of the same. But likewise, if you're struggling, if you're feeling like you're uphill battle, then what's happening is you're not coming from a place of flow. So this is going to really help bring that level of awareness. So you could even write down, this is working, this is not working. And for the things that are not working, you can circle, and that's going to help you get inspired action to start moving forward and gaining momentum within your business. Okay, so well done, guys. I know that's the first part of the practice. I know it's quite intense. I know it's quite fast paced. But as we go on to the second part, which is choice, Now, as we have said, there's free will. You have the power to change your life by choosing different outcomes, by choosing your focus. And this all comes down to free will. You have that power within you as a human being. You have free will. But the problem is that we've been numbed. We've been numbed by society, social media, stereotypes, like all of these things. We've been numbed by it, and we think that haven't got that choice. We think that things are happening to us, not for us. The biggest thing that changed for me is when I started to see things as gifts, as even the things that weren't that great, seeing what I could learn from them, especially within business. And I am talking more about business here, but that does extend to life. For some of the things that have happened in my business where I thought, oh my goodness, it's actually been the catalyst for incredible things, because I had the power to change my perspective through things like journaling. And it starts to become more of an active choice. At first, like I said, you may not be aware. People can go days, weeks, months, years even, without actually knowing they're like on autopilot. But by this practice that we're working through right now, you start to choose, you start to become more active part of the process. And what you're doing as you choose is you start to make things part of your identity. I'm the kind of business owner that does this. I'm the kind of business owner who is this. For me, to give you an example of this, when I went through this practice and I realized I had the awareness to choose to change, I realized that I needed to become someone who followed through, someone who was laser focused. So as you're going through this, you might start to realize some of these things. So if you go to exercise 2 in your workbook, this is where we're going to talk about changing the choice here. So this is the shift. So if you haven't got the workbook, what the prompt is number 1. So if you have got the workbook, go to your workbook and go to exercise 2 and point 1. And the prompt is, where are the pain points, the resistant points that are preventing you from up-leveling your business? If the next level for you is time, more creativity, more money, more growth, more team members, what's actually stopping you from achieving that? And again, be open and honest with yourself. Write down the first thing that comes to your head. You don't want to overthink this part, because what tends to happen as you overthink the answer to this question is your ego gets in the way. And you try and say, oh, like actually it's because of this reason. You start making excuses. But if you're really honest with yourself, what is the thing that you're resisting? For some people, this might look like success. And I'm going to keep talking as you're writing, because this might spark some stuff. But for some people, they may be fearful of success. And I know that sounds weird, but maybe they're worried about when they get to a certain level, will people not like them? Will people trying to put them down? Or people are scared of failing. The other side of it, what if this doesn't happen? What if this happens? Everything that you say after what if is a form of visualization, and we do it all the time. We do it all the time throughout the day, and we want to change that narrative. But the way we change that narrative is you understand what the pain point actually is. You kind of got the surface level problem, and then under that, you've got all of these resistance points. So maybe you're like, oh, I can't grow my business. That's it. I haven't got enough followers. What's underneath that? What's the real resistance point? Are you scared for being yourself? Are you scared for being judged? Are you scared that you're going to mess up? You're scared of being, the outsider? Like, what is it that you're scared of? For me, one of the things is that I wouldn't be accepted in my friendship groups. And I know it sounds ridiculous, but my friends don't come from a business. Well, some of them don't come from a business kind of environment. So I was scared, for me, that if I started becoming this like version of me who runs a business, would I be like the odd one out? Maybe it's deeper. Maybe it's a fear of you losing freedom. That was another one that I worked through. That was another belief that came up as a resistance point for me. I was scared that if I had a bigger business, more growth, would I have less time? And that was very strongly linked to a money limiting belief, because I saw my family members, people working really hard, have been successful, but then actually my uncle, he actually didn't have that much time spent with his family. So I associated that to being successful, which was stopping me from putting the work in or from doing that inspired action. I was self-sabotaging. So what are the main resistance points for you? And then continuing with that flow now, remember we're going quick with this. What is number 2? It is, what core daily activities could you set to move your business in the right direction, in the direction you desire? So if you're not working from the workbook, this is where on point 2, and it's what core daily activities could you set to move your business in the direction you desire? So to give you, again, I'm going to keep talking as you're writing here. To give you an example, I have a set of standards, the things that I do every day. And what I mean by a standard is it's like the thing that you do without question. A bit like cleaning your teeth in the morning, right? You don't have an internal debate. You don't think, shall I, shan't I? You don't overthink what are the benefits, what are the mistakes, you just clean your teeth. And that's what you want to do in the terms of these things that you're writing down. What kind of things are you going to be doing daily without question that are going to move your business forward? So for example, me showing up online, that's something that moves my business forward. Me having the communication with my one-to-one clients. They then, in turn talk about how good the sessions are. That grows the business, but it allows me to serve and grow. So what daily activity are you going to set in your business? And really go with your feeling here. Don't overthink it. And remember, anything you write right now, it's not like you have to do it. So just get it out of your head first, because we're clearing that slate. We're getting all of the stuff out of your head and onto paper so you can step back objectively. And again, moving quickly on to 3. And the prompt for anyone who hasn't got the workbook is, what are your income generating activities? So what are the things that actually generate income for you? Is it creating workshops? Is it creating design templates? Is it building a coaching package? What is the thing for you that's actually the income generating activities? Is it the awareness of your brand, your message, your personal brand? And what does that look like? The outreach. So for me, I have to do things like, things that are going to allow people to find me. So whether that's creating shareable content, whether that's doing guest workshops, podcast recordings, whether it's myself or featuring on other people's podcast recordings. What are the things that are going to start generating that income? And that second part of this prompt is the actual work itself. So it's the things that draw in the sales, but it's also the things itself, the income generating. So it could be just doing the work. If you're a designer, doing the design work. So it's twofold. It's got the work that you actually have to do to get paid, and also the things that you do to gain awareness. And these are your income generating activities. We're going to start building that. And it depends on what stage you are in your business. You may have a team to do these generating activities for you. Maybe brand new to business and you're having to do a lot of this yourself. And this may even give you clarity of the direction that you want to go into for when it comes to later on in your business. Maybe you realize that these are your income generating activities, but they're not necessarily activities that you enjoy. So maybe you'll outsource those. And then moving on to number 4, it's an extension of this other question. And the prompt is, for anyone who hasn't got the workbook, is, do you like your income generating activities? If yes, what do you like about them? And if no, how can you have more fun with them or make them enjoyable? Okay. So what can you actually do here to make it more fun, more enjoyable? Maybe you really love your income generating activity. Maybe you love doing the work that you're doing. Maybe you love the outreach. Maybe you love showing up online, creating shareable content. But if you don't, what can you do to enhance that experience? So maybe, for example, if you really don't like showing up online, you don't like creating reels, then maybe you could spend some time with a hot chocolate, going through all of the real like sound effects and all those kind of things, really sitting down all cozy, selecting and saving and favoriting your favorite sounds. And then what you want to do is go forward with those activities. Awesome. So really understanding how you can enjoy this practice. And have a sip of water while you write. And this is going to really help you. Maybe as you're going through this, you're going to start realizing that actually you're not spending a lot of time on those fun things or those income generating activities. So what I would do here is really like bullet point out the list of how you can have more fun with the things that you don't like and how you can do more of the things that you do like in the income generating subject in this category. So moving forward again, now we're going to go on to talk about change. So what we're doing, this is sorry, part of exercise 2, is making space for what you want to manifest into your business. What we're doing here, you're rehearsing for what it is that you do want. So by you writing down these things, the things like, you know, I want to do more of this kind of activity. I want to do less of this kind of activity. I want this kind of client. I want this kind of workflow. What you're doing here is you're becoming aware, and then you're changing. With this awareness, you have the power to change. And I mentioned just a minute ago that the power of exploring what if, and I really recommend that you use this as a kind of way of changing your way of thinking. So maybe as you're going through this journaling practice, maybe you start to realize that actually you're spending a lot of time worrying, or spending a lot of time doing things you don't really enjoy, or you've set up a business model that doesn't actually attract the people that you want to attract. So when you explore what if, you can start to explore this idea in a way more positive way. So if you go, okay, I'm actually not doing the things that attract the people that I want to attract. What if you did this? What if you started showing up online every day? What if you added this new income stream? What if you added this new offering, right? So we're now going to go to start changing. This is the strong bit, okay? You're going to get a little bit more time in this section. So we're going to be breaking it down now. So if you go to exercise 3.1, it will say, write out an average day in the life of with the business success you desire. So you're going to get a little bit extra time here. I really want you to start thinking about what an average day in your life you would like to look like. And maybe your life looks like that right now. So as you're writing, I'm going to continue to speak, but I want you to start thinking, what would that look like? What time would you get up in the morning? What time would you get up on a regular basis? How would you start your day? Would you start your day with coffee, exercise, a walk, some journaling? What would you like to start your day like? And this has changed a lot for me. I do check in with this question quite a lot, and I recommend that you do too. Really start thinking about what that looks like. And as you go through different stages in your life, this is going to change. It's going to change when you maybe live somewhere else, when you have a different setup in terms of where you live. Things are going to change. But you want to think this next version of you, so not the end game, not for the forever. Just think about this next version of you and think of what you would actually like that day to look like. How much time would you be working in the business or on the business? What kind of hours would you work? Would you do more of it in the AM or the PM? I know people who've gone through this exercise and 3 months later, they're literally living their exact day, because what's happening here is you're making your subconscious mind aware and you're giving it direction. Your subconscious mind is a bit like a 7-year-old. It needs that direction, it needs that clarity, it needs specific details. And that is what you're doing here. You could even write out a few points of, this is the time I wake up, this is when I have lunch. You can write a little timeline out here. Or you can write in sentences or bullet points. There's no right or wrong. Really start thinking about what time you'd go to bed. How would you spend your evenings? Would you be spending your evenings working? So this is a really weird example, but for me, I like to start my day later in the day, but my creative time tends to be later in the evening. So when my mind starts to go into scatter focus mode, I can think a little bit more creatively. If I tried to do that same work at 3 p.m., wouldn't happen. My mind would just shut down. It's about working to your flow. So really break it down. Think about what goes into this. Think about what time or what food you'd eat. You know, this is something that I actually did. And I did this exact journaling technique. And then I went to my calendar. This is a technique if you want to take it further after the session. But what you can do is you can go to your calendar, you can start planning and making space for the things. I have lunch at this time. I do my workout at this time. I do my outreach work at this time. I do my client work at this time. So really understanding what that looks like. And then I want you to move to step 2, which is when can you do those things? So imagine a time and a place and schedule it into your diary. So think about, like I was just saying, think about when those things would happen and how much of those things can you do now? Because I think you'd be surprised. Because what happens is we think, oh, I can't do the workout in the morning, or I can't do this because I've got to get into hustle mode. But what we need to realize is that we get what we want to attract into our life by showing up as if we already have that thing. Show up with the level of confidence, show up in the terms of social media, show up for your workouts, show up for your relationship, your self-care, your self-development. So when can you start doing some of these things? Maybe you circle them, maybe you start writing them out, maybe you realize that actually I can start doing my morning routine now, the morning routine that I'd like to do if I had that business success. I can start doing that now. Maybe even if you're, I don't know, maybe if you're side hustling and you don't have as much time, maybe you can still do your morning routine. Maybe you still do your evening routine. So think about the things you can do now that fit into that ideal life. And you'll start to make that progression. You'll start to make that bridge. And what you're doing here is you're zooming in and you're zooming out. You're seeing what you can do to start actually moving this forward, moving the needle forward. I think when we're doing anything in business, sometimes you can feel very in the mood, in the moment. And what you can do by doing this practice regularly is you can start realizing, you can zoom out, you can see, oh, actually, now my business is growing a bit more, I can hire that VA, I can hire that accountant, I can hire that coach. And you zoom in again, you do more of the work, and you zoom out again. And what happens here is you are allowing yourself to start making that progression. So if you want to go to number 3, keep moving, keep that pen going, and ask yourself, how can you remove the resistance and make those things easy to do? Resistance is anything that creates friction or procrastination between you and the thing you would like to do. So really understanding what is actually stopping you and how you can remove that resistance. So maybe you think, oh, actually, I am not going to work on my self-development because I did this a lot at the start of business, right? I was in a different industry and it wasn't self-development, so I wasn't that aware of self-development. And I realized that actually I was just resisting that because I didn't think I was worthy of doing that self-development work. And then when I started to do it, it all started to unravel for me and it started to be so much clearer to think about, that resistance. How can you start making that ideal life something that's happening now? And I know that that might not be something you can do immediately, but it's about adding those sort of stepping stones, bridging the gap between where you are right now and where you want to go. So just note down anything you can do to remove that resistance. And what you're doing here is you're making time to reflect. You're going to go through this process quite a lot. And like I said, I recommend you going through this process kind of once a quarter, again, at least every 6 months, because what's going to happen here, so much is going to change within your business. If you think the world, things are going to change, they're going to have different elements to it. So making time to reflect on these things. So if you go to number 4 in the workbook, and the prompt is, when can I set a time to reflect on the changes I have made? So when do you want to have a look at your life? I personally will reflect weekly, I'll reflect monthly, and I'll reflect kind of quarterly. And those kind of reflection processes look different every single time I go through them. So for example, I might, on a weekly basis, look at what worked and what didn't work, the challenges that I overcame, how I was feeling. On a monthly basis, I may look at the projects that I've been working on. Did they work? This reflection process is key because it allows you to gain that momentum. Really just bring yourself out of the business for a second and just looking at it from a bird's eye view. And on a quarterly basis, I'll definitely reflect as well. So all of these times that you're writing down into this section, pop it into your calendar, put it, make yourself aware, get a wall planner, start becoming more present in your business. So when will you make time to reflect? Now, the biggest thing that's happening within this whole process is that you're allowing yourself space to think. So sometimes you may find during this whole practice and this process that the first time or the second time you do this practice, there's a lot. It all comes up and you're like, oh my goodness, there's so much here. But what's happening is you're starting to move forward. And every time a challenge comes up, it's a chance to up level your life. So every time you reflect and you become aware of a new challenge or maybe something you want to change within your business, you are then giving yourself that chance to change. So I want you to take some deep breaths now. I know it's quite heavy what we've gone through, and we've gone through quite quickly, because the idea is that, like I said, you're building that pace up. But what I want you to do now is just look over what you've written. Look over the things that maybe you struggled with. I want you to start anything that you feel like really kind of spoke to you, any inspired action. Now, inspired action is the action that you feel inspired to take. So maybe through doing this practice, you've realized that, oh, actually, I need to change that element of my business model. Or I need to be more specific about the people that I want to call in. Maybe you did this practice and you were like, I've never really thought about the people that I want to attract into my life. That's something I didn't do right at the start. I had to be a bit more picky. And I think now, even to this day, things take like a change. And that doesn't have to look like a horrible process. I've spoken to people before and I said, don't think this is actually right for you right now. And then it's been a really lovely open communication, because that's all business is. It's communication. It's communicating, your solution to someone else's problem or challenge. And that's what you're doing throughout this process, is you're having that communication with yourself. So just look over your notes and just see everything you've written down and just see if anything really stands out to you. Is there anything that you feel that you need to go and take action after this session? And then once the session's over, I want you to actually program that in your diary to go and take that inspired action, because that's really what's going to make the change here. It's the inspired action that comes from this practice. So now is a time for Q&A. If you have any questions, this would be an amazing time. Just pop them into the chat box and I will look through them. And let us know how you've got on with this, how you enjoyed this session, anything that came up for you. As you can see on screen, there are all the details. But have you got any questions? Is there anything that came up that wasn't unclear, or maybe that, was a win for you? Is there anything that's unclear about journaling? Now is your time to pop them into the chat box. Thank you. What time of day would you suggest journaling? Is there a better or worse time? And does it need to be this long every time? No, it doesn't need to be this long every time. To give you some sort of like perspective on it, I have a mocha pot pointing over there because that's where it is. I have a mocha pot, and by the time that's boiling, or whilst that's boiling the coffee, I'll just grab out my journal. Couple of minutes, not long. But what I'll do is I'll bring myself like some level of awareness. There's so many different techniques that you can use with journaling. This is more of a journaling practice that I would, like I say, use every quarter or so, just to bring that level of awareness to you. But what you want to do essentially is decide on a space that works for you. So for me, it's in the morning. I know that if I don't do my journaling practice in the morning, then the day normally doesn't unfold the way I like it to. And what I would recommend starting off with is just understanding where you're at, how you're feeling, because that level of awareness will help you throughout the day. So getting really clear on that. Thanks, Cam. Thank you. And I actually wanted to know if you recommended separating business and personal journaling, as I currently combine the two, but I'm wondering if I'll get more from journaling if I separate the two themes. Yeah, I would. There's a few different techniques that I would use. First of all, if it's business, I would schedule it in the diary, because technically it is the work that you're doing on your business, right? So any journaling work, everything that everyone's been doing today, that's kind of like on the business work, because you're zooming out. And I think that's in the business is obviously like the day-to-day stuff, the stuff that needs to be done to get paid and all of that kind of thing. This kind of journaling is on the business journaling. It's taking a step back. So I would recommend keeping it separate. I have one massive journal where everything kind of goes, but I also document my business stuff in a separate journal. And I also have a scripting journal. I have my own journal, which I created, but I have a scripting journal. And scripting is essentially where you write from a place of having. So it's a form of gratitude where you write about like your business successes or your personal successes. So I do recommend keeping them separate. I'd say personal wise, you can do as and when. So like you were saying at the start, you have it next to your bed when things arise. Awesome on the personal side. But business wise, I would make sure there's times that you're going to journal, once a month, for example, would be a really good suggestion. And yeah, sorry, it doesn't need to be any certain amount of time. It can be as long as you'd like. No questions. Do you have any, it stopped then. Do you have any suggestions for daily journal prompts? Yeah, I do. I journal on a couple of things. So I check in with how I'm feeling. I do have like my own journal, which is why I write it in there. But basically, I'll check in with how I'm feeling, because like this whole process is, if you don't know how you're feeling, and we do this so often, we get up and we go into our day straight away without even just taking note of how we're feeling. But if you understand how you're feeling, then you can do things up level. I will also set a daily intention. So I'll think, okay, like what do I want to get done today? How do I want to feel? And at the end of the day, I will also check in with how the day went, and also like what sort of wins and challenges did I overcome. That gives that level of awareness. Do you have any suggestions for daily journaling? Any tips on how to cultivate a journaling routine? I want to be consistent, but find myself making excuses. Yeah, so what I think you should do is put your journal next to a place that you visit already. So I was doing this on a one-to-one with a mum, and she was a recent mum, and she was like, I haven't got the same amount of time as I used to have. So what she did is she actually put the journal in the bathroom, because she knew that she'd be visiting there every day. And the same thing with your coffee. So my coffee pot, I have my coffee ready the day before, and I'll put my journal out there. And that gives me that kind of visual cue to start cultivating that practice. But I'd also just start giving yourself a bit of a time limit at first, because the resistance can sometimes be, I don't know what to write. So either knowing what you're going to write in terms of prompts, or giving yourself a certain amount of time. Perfect. So journaling, schedule it in. Do you have a process for identifying resistance points? Yeah. So there's a few different parts to this. It's kind of a whole practice in itself, because that'd probably be in like another hour. But what I would say is write down, this is a really simple way of doing it, write down what it is that you want or what you're trying to achieve, and then look at the feelings that you're feeling towards that. So if you're saying, I want to make a 5K month, and then you're like, oh my goodness, how is that ever going to happen? Write that down. If you're like trying to, I mean, this happens at every level. You know, I see people on every level of income that they're trying to make, whether it's like 20K, 5K, 1K, whatever, there's always that like that initial resistance point, because they're starting a new level. So if you write down, even just on personal side of things, these are the things that I want, and then just notice what sort of feelings or thoughts pop into your head, because I guarantee that there's where the resistance points will start to come from, because you'll go like, oh, I want to have be 6 months booked out of clients. Oh, how is that going to happen? You haven't got enough like following. And then you can go into deep detail and you can go into depth. So that's a really simple way of doing it. Just write out what you want, and then just notice what kind of feelings come up. I'm so glad you enjoyed it, Jane. Thank you so much. Thank you, Camille. Amazing. Feel more inspired. Great news. Yeah, that is the idea here, is that you're just bringing awareness. So all I would say is try and get this practice in once a quarter or once every 6 months, just to have that check-in with yourself in terms of daily journaling. Understand how you're feeling towards your goals is a really great way of understanding where you're at. So all you could do in the morning is write out what your projects are, or write out your current goals, notice any resistance that comes up there, and then you can start to clear it. Thank you so much, everyone. I'm so glad you had a good time. Thank you so much for showing up. Thank you, more importantly, showing up for yourself. And I will see you all soon.